Hi guys, it's Mr. Go again. This is part 2 of the lesson 20 walkthrough. Let's just review what we just finished. All right, so I've got my sprite and I've actually rendered all of my animations. So here's my background. Okay, here we go with my crewmate. I'm having picking up the donut. So again, the crewmate is the player, the donut is the target, and the knife is the obstacle. And if we go back to the code, run it, as you can see, I've got my player down at the bottom. Okay. Looks like he's walking right on the snow. Perfect. Okay. I've got my donut and my knife at the sizes that I want. So I've scaled them and so forth. So now what I want to do is I want to try to get them to loop. Okay. And I need to get to jump actually. So I like using the space bar. So they go ahead and actually say whether the player has pressed the up key. I kind of like the space bar. So and then we've got some conditions right here that we have to add. So let's go ahead and find that area in the code where it says jumping. So right here, it says jump. If the player has reached the ground, stop moving down. Okay. Oh, wait. Before we do that, I apologize. We haven't actually finished the movement of the sprites. We have to try to get the sprites to actually move across the screen. So we want them to have a starting velocity. So let's do that. They actually don't have a starting velocity yet. All right, well, let's do this. We want them to be off the screen, and then we want them to go ahead and have a starting velocity. Okay, so let's do that first. Sorry, almost forgot. Got to get the donut to move and the knife to move. All right, so let's do sprites. We do velocity x because we want this to move horizontally, right, on the x-axis. We don't want the donut to happen to be right in the middle of the screen either. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place the donut beyond the screen. I'm going to put him at 500 to start. Now, I also don't want the donut to be at that height. I want them to kind of be randomized. So where the sprite is right now, the center of it, you can see over here is 325. So what I want to do is come up with a random number so then the donut can either appear between some higher number over here. In this case, it'll be a less value for y and 325. So let's go to math, random number, place it in there. You know, maybe about, let me take a look at the grid right here. So this is about 100. I think maybe I want them to be at about 125 or so. So like maybe between 100 and 150 in the y value. All right, so let's plug that in. So 125. And I want them to, the donut to not be any lower than where the crewmate is. So that's at 325. Okay. And again, I know that because I had originally set, okay, my sprite to be at 325 right here, the crewmate sprite. All right, so now let's go ahead and set the velocity. So this, what it does is it actually makes the donut move across the screen. Now, because I'm going from right to left, that actually goes from a positive or high x value to a low x value. So I want this to be a negative value. Let me just pick, -6 for now. Okay, let's just see if the donut actually moves across the screen. There he is. Awesome. Now let me click reset and run again. See? So now he's higher. Perfect. So he's not random. He's not always appearing in the middle of the screen, at the middle height of the screen. Sometimes he's at the lower level, right? Sometimes he's pretty high and so forth. And that's the random number block that we've added in the create sprite location right there. Awesome. Let's do the same thing for the knife. Okay. So let's go back to sprites, make this guy, okay, move. So again, I want the knife to have a velocity x. You know what? Let me go ahead and just start it with a -6 for now. Same velocity as the donut. Now let's go ahead and move this again off the screen. So the knife starts over here on the right beyond the screen right here. And then let's use another random number right there. So now again, I want the random number to be between the top, okay, of the donut, where the donut's going to be, and the bottom range would be at 325, right where the middle of the crewmate would be. All right, let's click reset and run. Check it out. Okay, now they're kind of on top of each other like that, and they're moving kind of together. You know what? I kind of like that, but I kind of don't at the same time. I want to try to create a little bit more of a like a challenge, basically. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to come up with another random number over here for the donut velocity x. Let's make this a -4 to a -8, okay, for the donut. And then for the knife, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this a little bit faster. I'm going to make this a -5, okay, and a -10. So it creates a little bit of dynamic movement, okay, as you can see. Okay, let me click reset and run. There you go. Again, a little bit more dynamic movement. You know what? Maybe I don't want the knife to be as high. I'm just going to leave this at 200. Okay. There it is. Because ultimately, I want the player, the person that's playing this game, to have to make a choice whether or not they're going to jump for it. Okay. Or maybe just try to avoid the knife first, so then they don't hit it, and then they'll just skip actually the donut and then wait for another donut to come. Awesome. All right, so now that we've got our sprites moving, let's move on to level 5. Excuse me. All right. Let's click run. All right, good. So everything's good so far. So now let's make the guy jump. All right. We're going back to the jumping area right here where the comments are inside of the draw loop. If the players reach the ground, stop moving down. So what that means is if this crewmate has reached the bottom level, okay, on the ground, I don't want him to go any lower than that. Well, they kind of give us a hint, right? It says if. So that means I'm going to need this if block right here. Now, if the player has reached the ground, so the lowest level that I want my crewmate to be at is 325, because that's where he actually starts. He's right here, 325. Okay? All right. So if I'm going to say the crew, now it's crew.y. Okay, let's try that again. Crew.y. Now, why is it the crew.y? Well, it's the y value for the crewmate. I want the crewmate, the height, okay, of where the crewmate's going to be rendered or displayed. I don't want it to be greater than 325. Okay. So if the crewmate's y value is greater than 325, which is where I want him right there, I don't want him to move any lower. Okay. Well, so what we do is we just go ahead and set a variable. And we say crew.y is going to make sure it's equal to 325. So if it goes beyond 325, we're going to set it to be 325. And then that's it. Cool. Okay. So let me go ahead and get rid of this. Okay. Because I've done those. I'm just going to leave the jumping note right there. And I've done those instructions. All right. So now if the player presses the space bar, start moving up. All right. Let's go back to the control. They kind of give us a hint again. So if, okay, the player presses the space bar. Okay, good. So let's go over the world. And then let's do key down. Okay. I like this one because what that means is if I hold the space bar down, it's going to do what I want it to do. If I say key went down, then I would only press it once. And even if I hold the space bar down, he's not going to want to jump. Okay. So I want a little bit more dynamic movement if I am able to hold the space bar down and I want him to be able to move. All right. So if I press the space bar, I want him to start moving up. Well, let's go to the sprite movement. In this case, I'm looking for a vertical movement for the sprite. So let's move that right here. I'm going to say that what I want to do is I want the crew velocity.y, okay, to have a value. Now, is this going to be positive or negative? Well, let's take a look at the grid again. It's lower in value up here at top, okay, higher in value over here at the bottom. So what that means is I want to subtract. I want a negative number for this to make him go up. You know what? I'm going to make it, let me make it -8. So he's going to jump up pretty quickly. Okay. Now let's take a look at the next part. So I'm going to move this aside now. Okay. Now let's just click reset and run. Let's see what happens. Let me press space bar and see. Yep, the guy's moving up. Okay. Let me click reset and run again. Moving on up. Nice. Perfect. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next thing. If the player reaches the top of the jump, let's start moving down. Okay. If, right, because he gave us a clue. If the player reaches the top of the jump, we want him to start moving down. Okay, so now, where would the top of the jump be? Okay. Well, I can't run it right now. So the top of the jump, I think I had a level of 125. I think that was the highest that the donut could go, was 125. Okay, right here. And I can just check. So if I go back in here, look, the donut goes to 125. So I want him to be able to at least reach that part. So let's go ahead and say, if the crew, okay, let's try it again. If the crew.y is less than 125. And the reason why we're using the less than value is because once it gets past 125 over here at the top, it's getting lesser, right? It's getting a lower like y value. So if the crew.y gets less than 125, I want him to start moving down. Okay, good. So let's do the sorry, not that. Sprite velocity y. So I want the crew.y, right? Or crew.velocity y to be a positive value now. You know what? Instead of making him go down as fast as he went up, let me go ahead and have him float down like at a 6. All right, now let's try this. Let's see if it works. All right, good. There he goes. Let me press the space bar. Check it out. I'm pressing the space bar. And the guy falls nice and slowly back. Let's see if I hold the space bar down. Yeah, see, look, I can keep pressing the space bar, right? And he keeps going up. Or I can hold the space bar up and then he stays up there. Awesome. Perfect. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but my donut and my knife only go across the screen once. So that's not really going to work out. It's not going to be too good of a game. So we have to actually start looping, right? The donut and the knife so then they reappear on the right side of the screen. So that's our next video that we're going to work on, okay? So right now what we've done is that we've added a keyboard control by getting the guy to jump. If I press spacebar, okay. Let's take a look, right? I've got the donut and the knife moving, right, from off the right side of the screen and into the screen going towards the left like that. Awesome, okay? I'll see you guys later.